All right, buckle up, everybody. Because today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's guaranteed to bend your mind a little bit. We're talking about the role of dreams and astral travel in spiritual work, and we'll be looking at it all through the lens of the Law of One.
The Law of One. Yeah, it's a pretty dense, fascinating body of work, supposedly channeled from, well, they say an extraterrestrial being named Ra. It covers a pretty wide range of spiritual and metaphysical concepts, but I think for today, we're really going to zero in on how it views dreams and astral travel, specifically how they can actually be used as tools for spiritual growth.
Okay, so we're not just talking about like taking a mental vacation in our pajamas, right?
Yeah.
This is about using these experiences to get a better understanding of ourselves, the universe, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you've had some time to really dig into the source material here. What really jumped out at you as the most crucial thing for our listeners to grasp about dreams in this whole Law of One framework?
Well, one of the most, I think, crucial things is that the Law of One sees dreams as way more than just, random brain activity. They're seen as this potential tool, this communication tool with the higher self.
Okay, so less like a random highlight reel of your day and more like a direct line, like a hotline
Yes.
to your inner wisdom.
Yeah, exactly.
But how does that even work? I mean, does the higher self send us emails with subject lines like guidance for your soul?
Not quite. It's not quite like that. The Law of One explains that the higher self communicates in this really symbolic language. So it's using archetypes, emotions, imagery, a not straightforward language. There's one passage in the source material that even says the higher self communicates in symbols, archetypes, and emotions rather than direct language.
Interesting. Okay, so we're not going to get like a neatly formatted grocery list of spiritual instructions. It's more like we're getting abstract art that needs a little bit of deciphering, right?
Yep.
So how do we get fluent in dream symbolism? Is there a cosmic Rosetta Stone out there somewhere?
I wish. I wish there was. That'd make things easier. But there's no single, translation guide. But the Law of One does suggest a practice called dream programming. It's basically you're setting an intention before you fall asleep, asking your higher self for guidance. It could be on a specific issue or a question you have. You're really actively engaging with that dream state rather than just passively taking in whatever comes your way.
So like ordering takeout for your soul. It's like, one insightful dream about my life's purpose, please. Hold the existential dread.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it.
But let's say we've got this dream interpretation thing down. We're having like profound conversations with our higher self every night. Is that the end goal here?
Well, not necessarily. The Law of One actually brings up another concept that's pretty intriguing. It's called the magical personality. And they describe this as it's like a more advanced aspect of your higher self, one that you can actually access in your sleep states. And the interesting thing is, it's capable of even deeper metaphysical work. Actually, the source material puts it like this. Ray describes the magical personality as an advanced aspect of the higher self that can be called upon in sleep states.
Okay, hold on. We need to unpack this. So there's like our everyday higher self who's sending us like cryptic dream messages. And then there's this supercharged magical personality just waiting in the wings. What exactly can this magical personality do that the regular higher self can't?
That's a really great question, and it's one that deserves a much deeper dive, I think, than we have time for right now. But the Law of One seems to suggest that this magical personality can do things like astral travel, even manipulate energy, in ways that we just can't do while we're awake.
Yeah.
But accessing it, it's not exactly a cakewalk. It takes practice, intention, and a certain level of spiritual development, they say.
So it's not just like wishing for it on a shooting star.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really cultivate. It's almost like a muscle you have to train, right?
Right.
But wow, I mean, think about it. It would be pretty amazing to have this superpowered self at your disposal in the dream world. So if you could actually connect with your magical personality tonight, what would be the first question you would ask it?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know, right?
That's a question I think our listeners should think about. What mysteries would you want to unravel? What knowledge would you want? What kind of powers would you want to explore? And all with this magical personality as your guide.
Okay, you've definitely got me hooked now. We've talked about dreams as this communication tool. We've hinted at their connection to this mysterious magical personality. Where do we even go from here?
Well, this is where things get even more interesting because we got to shift gears and talk about astral travel. And in the Law of One, astral travel is very closely linked to dreams. It's described as the ability to project your consciousness outside of your physical body.
Astral travel, I mean, that's the stuff of legend sci-fi movies. Are you telling me that the law of one actually suggests that this is something we can do? And how does it connect back to this idea of spiritual work that we've been talking about?
It does. The law of one, it doesn't just acknowledge it, it actually presents it as a skill. One that, as you grow spiritually, becomes more and more accessible, especially, they say, for people who are what they call service to others oriented. In fact, there's a passage that states, the positively oriented social memory complex will be attempting to learn the disciplines of mind, body, and spirit.
Hold on. You just dropped social memory complex on us.
Oh, yeah.
Let's back up for a sec just to make sure everyone listening is following along. Can you break down what that actually means within the law of one context?
Yeah, sure. So a social memory complex, it's basically a group of souls, right? And they've merged their consciousness so they act as one entity. Now, these complexes can be either positive or negative. It all depends on their motivations, their actions. So in this case, the law of one is saying that beings who are positively oriented, the ones who are focused on serving others, they're the ones who are actively working towards mastering astral travel. It's like a part of their spiritual evolution.
Fascinating. Okay. So you've got individual souls who are striving for this, and then entire groups of souls who've already merged their consciousness, and they're out there exploring the astral realms as well. I mean, it's starting to sound like a pretty crowded cosmic highway out there.
Yeah, it's rush hour on the astral plane.
Right.
Yeah. And while the law of one does suggest that some really advanced beings, they might even use technology for this kind of travel, it always emphasizes the importance of spiritual discipline. That's a crucial element.
So even if you've got, like, a fancy spaceship, you still need a strong, well-trained consciousness to really navigate those realms effectively.
That's the idea. Yeah.
But what's the big draw? Why is astral travel so important in this whole law of one framework?
Well, just imagine. Just imagine being able to explore other realms of existence. You could connect with beings from different dimensions, experience reality from a whole new perspective. I mean, that's the allure of astral travel right there.
Okay. Yeah, you just sold me. Sign me up for Astral Travel 101. But
Okay.
before I book my ticket to another dimension, are there any risks involved? I mean, is it all, cosmic rainbows and unicorns out there, or is there something a little darker lurking?
That's a great question, and it's where we got to be a little cautious because while the law of one paints this picture of vast possibilities with astral travel, it's very clear that there are potential challenges, and those challenges a lot of times they come in the form of negative entities.
Ooh, negative entities. Okay, now we're talking. Tell me more. Who are these cosmic bad guys, and what are they after?
So the Law of One specifically talks about a group called the Orion group, and they're described as beings who are what they call service to self oriented, and they're often portrayed as wanting to control, to manipulate others. And the astral realm, it's seen as kind of like their hunting ground.
Okay, this just got real. So if we're out there exploring the astral realms, how do we avoid becoming like cosmic takeout for these Orion guys?
Well, the Law of One, it really emphasizes that protection. Protection comes mainly from your own inner state. As the source material puts it, the approach is flexible and does not necessarily include the close encounter syndrome, as you are aware. Basically, what you're putting out there, your intentions, your overall vibration, that's going to play a huge role in what you attract in these realms.
So it's less about like building astral force fields or carrying, psychic weapons. It's more about aligning ourselves with higher vibrations, things like love, compassion, service to others. That's our cosmic armor.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Remember, the Law of One is all about energy. It's about consciousness.
Mhm.
The more we embody those positive qualities, the less vulnerable we are to those negative influences.
So strong intentions, a focus on serving others.
Okay.
Got it. That's our game plan. But what does service to others even look like in the context of astral travel? Is that like helping lost souls find their way back home? Is it teaching interdimensional yoga classes? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Ooh, those are interesting possibilities. But you know what? I think we should save that discussion for our next segment because that's where we can really dive deep into the practical implications of this whole service to others idea. And we can talk about how it applies to both dreams and astral travel.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat already. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part, though. We've talked about dreams as this communication tool. We've introduced the mysterious magical personality. And we've even gotten a glimpse into the world of astral travel and some of the potential challenges out there.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in for sure. And it's clear that there's so much more to explore. But Until next time, I think it's good for our listeners to really reflect on what resonated most with them today, what really sparked your curiosity, what questions are coming up for you. Maybe even try a little dream programming tonight and see what insights come through.
Excellent advice. And we'll be back soon to pick up this fascinating thread and continue exploring. So until then, happy dreaming, everyone.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the law of one's perspective on dreams and astral travel.
Okay, my mind is still buzzing from our last conversation. Dreams as communication tools, magical personality, even those potential risks of astral travel. It's a lot to process. But now I'm really curious about the practical stuff. Like, how can we actually apply these concepts in our own spiritual work?
That's a great question. It's where we really start putting this into practice. Let's start with dreams. We were talking about dream programming. It's about setting a clear intention before you go to sleep, right? But what are some concrete ways that our listeners can actually use this technique to help them grow spiritually?
Yeah, because I'm picturing someone lying in bed trying to like program their dreams,
Yeah.
like setting a timer or something. How does that actually work? What do you do?
Well, you're not forcing anything. It's more about gently guiding your subconscious mind. Think about what's really pressing for you right now. Are you trying to make a big decision? Are you trying to figure out your purpose? Maybe you just want to connect more deeply with your higher self. Whatever it is, try to frame a clear question, a concise question related to that, almost like you're writing a request to the universe.
So instead of saying something general like show me my future, I might ask, what's one step I can take today to align myself with my soul's purpose?
Yeah, exactly. It's more specific, more actionable, and don't be afraid to get creative with your questions. The key is to really engage your intuition, come up with something that really resonates with you, and then as you're drifting off to sleep, just gently hold that question in your mind, almost like a silent prayer.
So not repeating it over and over, but just setting that intention and trusting that our higher self is listening, even while we're asleep.
Precisely. And don't be discouraged if you don't get a clear answer in your dreams immediately. Sometimes those insights, they come in subtle ways. Maybe it's a recurring symbol, a strong emotion you feel, even just a sense of peace or understanding when you wake up.
It's like our higher self is whispering to us, and we have to develop those subtle listening skills to really hear what it's saying. So, okay, let's say we've been practicing dream programming, and we are starting to get those messages. How do we actually make sense of them? We talked about dream interpretation before, but does the law of one suggest a specific approach to that?
It doesn't give like a rigid set of rules, but it really stresses the importance of personal reflection, connecting with your own intuition. A good way to do this is to keep a dream journal. Write down your dreams in as much detail as you can, and then later take some time to look back, look for patterns, maybe symbols or emotions that really stand out to you.
So we're becoming like detectives of our own dreams, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to piece together those clues and figure out the hidden message.
Exactly. And remember, there's no one right interpretation. What a symbol means in a dream, it can be different for everyone. Don't be afraid to explore different interpretations. See what feels right to you.
Like we've each got our own dream dictionary and we have to learn how to read it, right?
Yeah.
But what if we get stuck? Are there any resources, any tools that can help us with dream interpretation?
Oh, for sure. There are tons of books out there, online forums, even workshops you can take with people who are really experienced with dream interpretation. But the law of one, it really stresses the importance of developing your own inner compass, trusting your intuition above all else.
So those outside resources can be helpful, but ultimately it's about cultivating that inner wisdom and trusting ourselves to make sense of those dream messages.
You got it. And the more you practice, the more you'll find your intuition getting stronger, and your ability to understand those symbols will grow.
I'm feeling way more confident about engaging with my dreams in a meaningful way now. But let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about astral travel. We've touched on the risks, the importance of protection, but how do you actually develop that ability? Is it like learning to ride a bike? Just got to keep practicing until you get it?
That's an interesting analogy. The law of one seems to suggest that astral travel is more of a natural unfolding. It's an ability that gets easier to access as we grow spiritually. So it's not something you can really force, but a skill that sort of blossoms as your consciousness expands.
So it's not about trying to like blast yourself out of your body, but more about creating the right internal conditions. And then that ability will emerge naturally when it's ready.
Exactly. And remember what we talked about before. The Law of One really emphasizes the importance of a service to others mindset. It's like a catalyst for astral travel. As we become more compassionate, more committed to serving the greater good, our energy changes, and that naturally makes those out of body experiences more likely.
So it's not just about personal exploration, it's about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
Exactly.
But what are some, I guess, more practical steps that our listeners can take to cultivate that service to others mindset and to prepare themselves for astral travel?
Well, there are a lot of paths to service. It really comes down to finding what resonates with you. It could be volunteering in your community, doing acts of kindness, dedicating your work to a cause you believe in, or just simply being a more loving and compassionate person in your daily life.
So not necessarily grand gestures, but just weaving that intention of service into everything we do.
Exactly. And as we do that, we naturally refine our energy, strengthen our connection to our higher self, and create those conditions for astral travel to happen more easily.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about those disciplines, the disciplines of mind, body, and spirit that the source material mentions? How do those fit into preparing for astral travel?
That's a great question. The Law of One is all about holistic development. It recognizes that our physical, mental, and spiritual sides, they're all connected. So things like meditation, yoga, mindfulness, energy work, all of that can be super valuable for strengthening our subtle energy body and getting us ready for those out-of-body experiences.
So it's like we're training our consciousness to be able to operate independently from our physical body. We're developing that subtle awareness that's needed to navigate the astral realms.
Precisely. And it's important to remember that the Law of One doesn't present astral travel as just some kind of amusement park ride, you know? It's seen as a tool for spiritual growth, a way to expand our consciousness, to understand the universe better.
It's about approaching these experiences with a sense of reverence, respect, and a genuine desire to learn and grow. But okay, let's say we've done the inner work. We've got that service to others mindset. Our energy body is strong. What's next? How do we actually make that jump into the astral realms?
Well, the Law of One doesn't give us a step-by-step guide for astral projection, but it suggests that it often happens spontaneously, like during sleep or deep meditation. As our consciousness becomes more refined, our vibration rises, those out-of-body experiences become more likely.
So we're not trying to force it, just creating the right environment and trusting that it will happen when the time is right.
Exactly. And even if you don't remember your astral travels, they can still have a big impact on your subconscious mind. It can influence your dreams, your intuition, even your overall spiritual growth.
It's like planting seeds of awareness, even if we don't see them sprout right away. But what about those who are really eager to experience astral travel consciously? Are there techniques, practices that can make that happen?
That's a question we can dive into in our next segment. We can explore all the nuances of astral travel, talk about different techniques, potential experiences, and the deeper implications for our spiritual journeys.
I can't wait. This is fascinating. We've covered so much ground already. Practical dream work, cultivating a service to others mindset, the subtle art of preparing for astral travel. It's a lot.
It really is. And it's clear that both dreams and astral travel offer so many opportunities for growth, for expanding our consciousness. Until next time, I encourage everyone listening to think about these concepts, maybe even try out some of the practices we've talked about, see what happens.
Great advice. We'll be back soon to explore the world of astral travel in even more detail. Until then, happy exploring, everyone. Welcome back to our final segment of this deep dive into the law of one's perspective on dreams and astral travel.
Yeah, it's been a journey so far exploring all these concepts.
It really has. We've talked about dreams as communication, that magical personality, the importance of service to others, and how it all connects to preparing for astral travel. But now I'm really curious to hear more about the actual astral travel experience. What can our listeners actually expect, if they find themselves consciously navigating those astral realms?
Yeah. Well, according to the Law of One, astral travel can be very diverse. You could have subtle shifts in awareness or really vivid, immersive experiences that feel just as real as physical reality. Some people talk about feeling light or like they're floating. Others, they describe seeing incredible colors, hearing this like ethereal music, or even encountering beings from other dimensions.
Wow, it sounds like stepping into a whole new world with its own rules and possibilities, but I can imagine it would be pretty disorienting too, especially if you're not expecting it. Are there any common challenges or misconceptions about astral travel that our listeners should know about?
Yeah, one big misconception is that it's all about escaping reality. But the law of one, it's very clear that these experiences aren't meant to be escapist. They're supposed to be a tool, a way to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
So it's not about checking out of our earthly responsibilities, but more about getting a new perspective that can help us navigate them better.
Exactly. And another challenge a lot of people face is fear. The astral realms can be vast and unfamiliar, and it's totally natural to feel a little apprehensive, especially if you encounter things that, challenge your beliefs or expectations.
And we talked before about potentially encountering those negative entities. Is there anything our listeners can do to prepare themselves mentally and emotionally for those kinds of encounters?
The law of one often reminds us that fear usually comes from a place of not knowing, from ignorance. So the more we learn about the astral realms and the nature of consciousness, the less we have to be afraid of. Remember, our thoughts, our emotions, they create our reality. And that's true in the physical world, AMD, in those non-physical realms.
So if we go to these experiences with curiosity and a heart full of love, we're less likely to draw in those negative energies.
Right. And remember, you're never truly alone out there. Your higher self, your spiritual guides, they're always there to support you, even if you don't consciously realize they're there.
Okay, that's good to know. So we've got dreams to help us connect with our higher self. We've got astral travel to give us glimpses of other dimensions, and service to others is like our guiding principle, our way to navigate all this safely and effectively. How does it all fit together, like in the big picture of spiritual evolution, according to the law of one?
Well, the law of one suggests that we're all on this journey of expanding our consciousness. We're moving from a place of separation towards a place of unity. And both dreams and astral travel, they're like tools to accelerate that process. They give us chances to access higher wisdom, break free from limited beliefs, and really experience how interconnected everything is.
It's almost like we're slowly waking up to our true nature, realizing that we're not just these isolated beings, but sparks of something much bigger, connected to everyone and everything.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And that service to others idea, that's the fuel that keeps this evolution going. When we shift from a self-centered perspective to a more heart-centered one, we naturally become more aligned with the universe, with its energy. And and that opens up all these incredible possibilities for growth and transformation.
So it's not just about gathering knowledge or having these amazing experiences. It's about using those things to help others, to make the world a more loving and compassionate place.
Exactly. And as we live by that principle, that service to others principle, both in our everyday lives and in those expanded realms, we basically become like beacons of light. We're radiating positive energy and contributing to the collective awakening of all humanity.
That's powerful. I'm leaving this deep dive feeling inspired and really wanting to explore all these ideas in my own life. Do you have any final thoughts, any words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap up?
Just approach all this with an open mind, a curious heart, and a willingness to trust your own inner guidance. The law of one, it offers us a map, but ultimately you create your own journey. Embrace the mystery, honor your own unique path, and remember, you're never alone on this adventure.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for guiding us through this exploration of the law of one. And to everyone listening, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep shining your light out there in the world.